The government shutdown goes on. Confusion over federal food assistance for needy Texans continues.
Me, if I wasn't getting paid, you wouldn't see me here.
While the FAA limits flights at major airports, including DFW and Love Field.
Ever since I woke up this morning, I was checking security lines.
It's overwhelming.
This after Democrats gain in nearly every major race across the country.
Our message needs to be sharper, more focused, to really communicate to voters that we are the party of economic opportunity.
We speak with Congresswoman Julie Johnson and Senator John Cornyn, who say affordability must be top of mind.
Well, I know this is a huge issue for people who are trying to enter the housing market for the first time.
And a surprise outcome from a North Texas special election and what it means for the future.
This is Lone Star Politics from NBC5 and the Dallas Morning News.
Good Sunday morning. I'm Phil Prazen from NBC5.
And I'm Gromer Jeffers, political writer with the Dallas Morning News.
It may be a bumpy few days at North Texas airports because of the government shutdown. The FAA has taken the rare move to reduce flights at airports across the country, including DFW and Love Field. Beginning with a 4% cut in flights on Friday, they plan to increase those cuts to 10% of all flights later this week. This is because of staffing problems. Many TSA agents are calling out sick because they have been working for more than a month without pay. Also, more confusion over federal SNAP food assistance. The Trump administration was going to tap emergency funds to pay for half of November's payments, but a federal judge ordered them to pay the entire amount. The Trump administration has appealed the decision. It may take weeks until money is actually sent to needy Texans who qualify. And then as the pressure increases, there are some signs lawmakers are aiming to end the shutdown. Friday, the Senate Republicans kept lawmakers through the weekend to negotiate. Several congressional sources tell NBC5 the House of Representatives may return to work this next week if there are signs of a deal.
All this comes as Democrats celebrate big wins in the first electoral test for President Donald Trump's second term. On Tuesday, Democrats came out on top in some major races, from the mayoral race in New York City to the governor's race in Virginia and New Jersey, and the redistricting measure in California.
We spoke with Texas Senator John Cornyn about his takeaways from that election, the ongoing shutdown, and his own race. Here's part of our conversation.
As Tip O'Neill once said, all elections are local, and I don't think what happens in New York City has anything to do with what's likely to happen in the state of Texas. And if you look at the races in New Jersey and Virginia, they had Democrats who probably couldn't win an election, certainly at the national level, given the direction of the National Democratic Party. They won in blue states. So I don't think there's a lot you can learn, frankly, from the election, other than the fact that Mayor Mamdani is now the poster child for the Democratic Party at a national level.
There's been a lot of talk about affordability in this race, though. Do the Republicans need to have a better message on the affordability issue? And if so, what would that message be, in your opinion? Well, we talked about that at the White House with the president, and Senator Tim Scott, who heads the banking committee, which also has housing as part of his portfolio, has some suggestions about things we can do to make housing more affordable. I know this is a huge issue for people who are trying to enter the housing market for the first time, because, as we know, a lot of folks moving to our state, a lot of upward pressure on home prices. Interest rates have been high. It would help if the Federal Reserve continues to cut rates and make mortgages more affordable. But there is, I'm sure, some things we can do in that area. I'm not prepared to give you a comprehensive view right now, but yes, I think that was one message that we received loud and clear. Let me ask you a question about the shutdown as well, because that is happening. I'm hearing whispers that there may be at least the beginnings of a conversation to end the shutdown in at least the near future. Is that a possibility?
Well, this shutdown is one of the dumbest ideas to come along in a long time. And it's not about anything other than Chuck Schumer, the Democratic leader's political future. He's worried that if he does what we did 13 times, I think it was, during the Biden administration, which is pass short-term spending bills in order to finish our appropriations bills, he's worried he's going to get roasted or thrown under the bus. You pick your metaphor. And I think he's probably right, given the direction of the National Democratic Party. But we can't continue to operate like this. And so we are talking about some options, perhaps, at some point. And the fact is, even if we were to reopen on a short-term basis, if they could continue to do this over and over and over again, that obviously is not something we can tolerate. So we're discussing what those options may look like.
Do you have any concerns about some of the optics about this, especially, from the White House? I mean, here people will see headlines of them building a new golden ballroom. At the same time, there's literal food lines in DFW and Houston. Do you have any concerns about how that looks heading into a very important election year?
Well, there's a simple solution. Reopen the government. I've voted 14 times to do that. And in the absence of any cooperation from Democrats, we've tried to look for targeted solutions. And of course, now hopefully some of the SNAP or supplemental nutrition benefits will begin to flow. But virtually everybody who flies in an airplane has experienced delays. We've seen 3-hour delays at TSA and Houston Intercontinental Airport and elsewhere. I think more and more people are feeling this. Initially, I don't think a lot of Americans felt the government when it shut down. It didn't really directly impact them. But all federal employees have not been paid, including the folks who support us here in the Senate and the Congress. And I feel very bad for them because, unfortunately, a lot of innocent people are being hurt because of what essentially is a political temper tantrum by Senator Schumer.
Senator, the last time we spoke with you, you had one opponent, Ken Paxton, in your reelection bid. Wesley Hunt is now in the race. How do you like where you are now heading into the opening of the filing period and the March midterms?
Well, Gromer, there may be more who get in the race between now and the filing deadline. I think it's December the 8th. You would know as well. The 9th. And so there's plenty of time for somebody else to jump in. But in terms of my own situation, it's vastly improved. We initially were down in terms of our numbers compared to the Attorney General. Now it's essentially a dead heat. I talked to the president even this morning about this race, and he's following it very closely. I hope at some point he decides to make an endorsement. If he does, then the primary is essentially over, because if I get endorsed, then neither the Attorney General nor Congressman Hunt will have a chance to win this race.
Did you ask the president for his endorsement, and did he indicate whether he would give it to you or not? What's his timeline, you think?
I've been talking to the president periodically about the race. He's following it very closely. He obviously is going to do it when he wants to do it. But as I explained to him, we can't wait. And so that's why we've been very aggressively working to get prepared for this March 3rd primary. But it would help, and I would welcome his support. I'm proud of my 99.3% voting record in support of President Trump's policies. Worked hand in glove with him on the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, confirmed 3 Supreme Court nominees, and helped make his first term and now his second term a tremendous success.
All right, U.S. Representative Wesley Hunt extended a debate invite to Senator Cornyn and Attorney General Ken Paxton, saying voters deserve to hear directly from the candidates. So far, there's no indication if that will happen, Gromer. That'd be interesting, though.
It would be. Yeah, maybe we could
send a pitch in?
Yeah, exactly.
What was interesting, though, about Senator Cornyn's interview, he said that they do need to find a pitch to voters when it comes to the affordability issue. He just quickly mentioned the Federal Reserve rates that dictate mortgages and loans and everything like that. But do they need to do more?
It's a real issue. I mean, consider that in 2024, that was the issue that President Trump was able to exploit, and it helped him get back into the White House. So if people are still feeling crunched, if still rising costs and things out of control, don't have any place to live, that will have an impact on the midterm.
And the results that if you promise you're going to bring prices down and you don't, the voters come.
Right. And remember, Phil, historically, the party that controls the White House takes losses in midterm elections, so they don't need any other issue helping that along.
We are officially in the filing period for Congress, but there's still a lot we don't know on the Democratic side as a redistricting case makes its way through the court system.
As of Friday, we did not have a decision whether controversial new maps likely eliminating 5 Democratic seats were going to take effect. So that will still leave North Texas congressional members in limbo. We're waiting to see if Congressman Mark Vesey will run for his current but changed district, now in Dallas County, or if he will run for Tarrant County judge.
And Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett is still undecided if she will run for U.S. Senate or for re-election in her current Dallas-based district. And then we spoke with Congresswoman Julie Johnson, who plans on running for the new Dallas-based seat instead of her current one. But we spoke to her to get her reaction to the election this past week and if there are any signs she sees to the end of the government shutdown, now the longest in U.S. history.
It was a big win for Democrats. You know, what we saw is that Trump and Trumpism and complicit Republicans were soundly rejected by the voters across the country. You know, Trump has spent a lot of time rewarding himself, his family, his billionaire friends at the expense of the American people, and the American people came out and said, no, we are not here for it.
What are the messages you received from what happened across the country that you think could translate here into Texas?
Well, stay laser focused on the economic opportunities for the American people. People are really having a hard time. And that's what we saw, is that what the Republicans have been doing, shutting down the government, making people go without pay, making people go without health care, threatening to have people go hungry, you know, those politics are not resonating with the American people. So that, and all the reason they're doing that is so that they could give their billionaire friends, fulfill the promise that Trump made to big tech. And so, for tax cuts. And so this is not a system that's working. Economic opportunity, you know, Democrats are staying laserly focused on affordability, housing opportunity, lowering energy costs. All of these things are what is important.
Is it too simple of an idea to say that if Democrats are talking about race and gender, they do bad, and if they're talking about affordability and economy, they do well?
Well, I think it's not necessarily what Democrats are talking about. It's just what either party's talking about. You know, Republicans, Trump did a better job in 2024 of articulating the economic pain of American families, and they rewarded him with that vote. But they also got obsessed with culture war issues, and what we saw is, like in the Virginia governor's race, you know, the Republican just ran on culture war issues nonstop and lost in a significant way, and Democrats stayed focused on economic issues. I think what you've seen this election cycle is Democrats learned the lesson that our message needs to be sharper, more focused, to really communicate to voters that we are the party of economic opportunity for working families.
How do you do that in reality once you are confronted with millions of dollars in attack ads on, you know, their actual positions, Democrats' positions? They're supportive of the transgender community, LGBTQ rights, diversity as an issue. So how do you still support that without talking about it?
Well, I think you could say, you know, these are distractions because Republicans are not offering you any real economic solutions. You know, if you look here in Texas, for example, you know, the Republicans have been in control with Abbott and Republicans in the House and the Senate in Texas for 30 years. And you know what? Property taxes are at record highs. Our energy costs are at record highs. Our housing issues are at record highs. They're not solving the problems. And what we have seen across this country is an outright rejection of what Trump is doing, and his assault on women, on people of color, snatching, you know, immigrant families who have done nothing wrong solely because of the color of their skin. Their assault on free speech, their assault on national security, on everything that Americans hold dear, and Republicans have been silently complicit.
How is this shutdown going to end, do you think?
I think it's going to end pretty quickly. I think Republicans got a really loud lesson from the American people that they don't support this shutdown. Even the president said the Republicans own this shutdown and need to get it over. And so I think what's going to happen is, for one, the continuing resolution that was offered expires November 21st. So that is rapidly coming. We're going to have to do something. I think now this election result has motivated, strengthened Democrats' resolve to hold firm for the American people and affordability, and has opened the eyes of Republicans to say, maybe protecting people's health care and maybe preserving SNAP so that millions of Americans don't go hungry is a worthy goal, and we need to include that in the proposal.
If Republicans come your way and say, okay, let's talk, where's your line going to be? I mean, could they say, okay, we'll extend the ACA subsidies and Medicaid, we'll redo the Medicaid cuts for 6 months as we take a longer thing? Is that a good enough deal in your opinion?
Well, that's the deal that we need to have to open the government back up. The thing is that shutting down the government was about sort of continuing the status quo. Right now, the status quo is people have SNAP benefits. Right now, people have their ACA tax credits. And so we want to make sure that those things remain in place. And if they want to get into a more robust discussion of health care in this country going forward, of policies that will enable people to have food and we don't have starving, hungry kids and seniors in this country, I would love to be at the table for those conversations and would be happy to do that. But I'm not going to vote for a bill that makes 40 million Americans go without food and that cuts another 32 million Americans off their health care. That is just a non-starter for me.
So you feel like you don't have to move that much. The people are on your side. The Republicans need to come your way.
I think that's what we saw in this election results. The people spoke very loudly.
Texans turned out big to back new constitutional amendments on taxes, courts, and health care. On Tuesday, all 17 state propositions easily passed, and turnout was higher than expected. In Collin County, voters for the first time in decades filled out paper ballots. No major problems were reported, but lines were longer than usual. Down near Houston, the race to fill the seat of late Congressman Sylvester Turner is now headed to a runoff. And here in North Texas, the three-person race to replace Senator Kelly Hancock, who is now the state's acting comptroller, is down to two. Democrat Taylor Remmett earned 48% of the vote. Gromer. He'll face Lee Wamsgans in the runoff. We spoke with both candidates Tuesday night.
Tarrant County is the largest red county in the nation, and Senate District 9 makes up half of Tarrant County. Tarrant County is larger than 15 states, so it is a huge denominator in the practice of keeping Texas red. It's a huge part of it, and it is also a #1 target of the left.
No matter you're a Republican or a Democrat, people just want change, and that's okay. I'm someone that is looking for that same change, and I hope that the voters here in Senate District 9 can trust me with that. That's all I'm wanting.
So, Gromer, Remmett spent $140,000. The other two Republicans spent probably more than $4 million when you talk about outside groups as well. That is a big change.
Big change, a good sign for Democrats, but also a missed opportunity because when you spend $140,000 and you get 48% of the vote, what does that tell you?
If you spent $300,000, you may have gotten there.
Maybe you get to 50 plus 1% or whatever you need to win, right? And when you didn't, now it's a wake-up call for Republicans, and they still have the advantage. It's still a red-leaning district. But just think about if that candidate would have been properly resourced, maybe he wins it outright and gets to hold that seat for, a year or so.
And later tonight, we expect, so Governor Abbott has an event down in Houston. We expect this is going to be his re-election launch. He may be the deciding factor in this next year in the race. With him, his campaign, and all his money.
Yeah, he has the best organization in Texas. When it's all over, he could raise and spend, upwards of $150 million. That's unheard of. And he will help the rest of the ticket. He's not expected to be pushed too much. We'll see what Jenna Hinojosa or Andrew White does, or whoever emerges from that Democratic Party race. But certainly, he and his machine will weigh heavily on the results in the midterm elections.
That's all the time we have. Stay tuned for Meet the Press with Kristen Welker.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you back here next Sunday for more Lone Star Politics.